I'm Doc.
And I'm TJ.
And welcome to the Playbook. The Playbook is designed to be a manual for every team or every organization. And as Christians, our playbook is the Bible.
That's it.
So tonight we want to talk about the Gospel of John, starting with the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 11. And it's more commonly known as Jesus' first public miracle, told to us by the writer of the Gospel of John.
You know, it's funny. I know people always comment and say how much we smile. But wait till you hear us talk about the Bible. You're going to get some big 40 waters. We talk about Jesus.
It's some stuff in the Bible. Let me tell you a little side note before we get started. I was at the restaurant, and last thing you know, I like to get bacon and cheese and jalapenos on my fries. You know, they call them the brake pad fries. So I try to get them everywhere I go. So I was at the famous pub, and when I asked the lady for, they call them the Irish fries. And I said, can I get more bacon on it this time? And I said, I don't know what was wrong. I said, the cook was acting like Jesus came and ran the pigs into the water again. So, you know, and I was just so glad that she understood my Bible understanding. The Bible reference,
Well, I'm excited about this. Is, you know, I always hate to say favorite because we have so many favorites, but this is our favorite gospel.
Yes,
the Gospel of John. So as we are continuing in this new year with another episode of the Playbook, we decided to move on to the 2nd chapter of John and talk about the wedding at Cana.
The wedding at Cana. And some people call it a marriage at Cana. I don't think it mattered too much back then in the Jewish tradition because either one of them, it took you forever to actually get to the point of consummating it. So it could be the marriage or the wedding.
Yeah. And so I think it's such an interesting story. When you think about, you know, every wedding has so much planning that goes into it. Especially in the time of Jesus and the process of actually becoming a bride and going through the wedding and making sure that you had your dowry that came with the bride. And so I cannot even imagine at the wedding and running out of anything.
You know, I thought what was interesting about the wedding was what was missing from the story.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't hear nothing about the bride. They didn't say anything about the bachelor party the night before or the week before, whenever they had it. You know, it just it was interesting hearing about this wedding, and the first thing and the first thought came to mind was it was a wedding that Jesus was invited to. And that always left me with a good thought, and it always left me with this whole thing: if you invite Jesus, Jesus will come.
Oh yes, won't he? You know, I'm thinking about with that invitation that if you just go back to the 1st chapter, Jesus had just called his 12 disciples. So he had just had those follow him. And of course, they were with him, or the majority. It says some disciples or apostles were with him at the wedding. And so how close they had become already, just that quickly. And being so that they knew that when Jesus came, he was coming with his crew.
And you know, I think what's interesting about that too, the Bible, it usually gives, I guess, I won't call it a pun, but you know, they use this play with disciples a lot. And a lot of times, I'm thinking they're talking about the 12 disciples, but they're talking about a lot of followers, because you know, it was more than the 12 that actually followed Jesus. And a lot of times we think they're only talking about the 12, and they could be talking about the 12 plus the multitude.
Yeah, this verse said in verse 2 and 2, it says, now both Jesus and his disciples were invited to the weddings. We have no idea. I mean, no wonder we ran out of wine.
Yeah.
with a number that no man can count.
And you know, and I think the fact that Jesus was invited, I wonder what kind of invitation went out back then.
Yeah.
You know, today we have this nice stock paper, and you know, you call Vistaprint and all these other companies.
Thought goes into even picking out the wedding invitation and what they're going to look like, the color, the print, who it says, what does it say, the mother and the father of, or the mother and father of both, and all the thought that goes into just that part of the wedding.
Now, I wonder, was Jesus like a celebrity at the wedding? You know how a lot of times when you get married and you might have a family friend who has a celebrity that's a singer or entertainer, and everybody's excited because there's celebrities at the wedding.
Yeah.
I wonder, was Jesus a celebrity or was he just part of the family and friend circle?
You remember when, who was it, Star? got married, and her whole wedding was endorsed by somebody. So somebody was had paid for every portion to have their name of their company or the designer's name called at the wedding.
That was just ingenious. I would say if I had opportunity to do that, I'll do the same thing. I said, why not let somebody else cater it and pay for it and all this stuff, and you allow them to use your name.
That's it. That's a great way to get it done.
But this wedding at Cana, I could talk about this wedding forever. Just so many different, directions it go in, and it just be so many different volumes. But
so in this first part, we said we wanted to talk in this 3-part series of the Playbook on the actual invitation. So Jesus was invited and he came.
Yeah.
So I think about all the times that we go through things in our life, daily things. Even if you think about the struggles that you go through when you're planning a wedding, and how many times a wedding gets called off before you actually make it to the altar. But if you invite Jesus into all those situations, then Jesus will come and do what you need him to do. Even when you don't know what it is. Who knew we were going to run out of wine?
And I think that was one of the highlights too. Running out of something.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we always like to say we're out of something when we're really not out of it. We just don't have enough of our comfort. Have you ever noticed how people have a quarter tank of gas? Man, I'm out of gas. They can look in the refrigerator and they don't see nothing they want in it. Man, I don't have any food in here. Look in your closet. I don't have no clothes to wear. Closet full of clothes. Just don't have what you want to have. So we use that running out of lightly. But I wonder were they really out of wine or were they close to it and they didn't want to actually run out of it? Because we always say we're out of something when we're close to it and we're not really out of it.
So what does it mean now when you invite someone to your wedding? When you think about the couple that's getting married, so this is a big, huge party. They want to invite your friends and the people that are going to turn up with you. And then, but those aren't the people that are going to come and bring gifts. It's your parents, friends that already have some money that are going to come and bring you gifts and those type of things. So when you think about the wedding process, that invitation, that list of who gets an invitation is always a point of angst, I think, for preparing for a wedding.
And I think one of the things that, me, especially after being involved in a wedding from the perspective of financier, I guess when you invite a person to the wedding, you have to ask, is that person cost worthy?
Yeah.
I guess I'm just have to say it like it is. Is that person's gift and contribution to the wedding worth the cost of the dinner that I'll be providing the person?
But it's about the memory. You want that person to share in the time and remember it with you.
I understand that.
So you definitely don't want to invite people that you're not going to remember.
Because, it's a cost to come to that person.
It is.
Especially when you're having that nice event. They charge about $25 or $50 per person to the wedding. So if the gift is, you bring me a $5 pair of socks to the wedding, and I don't pay $50 for you to sit down and eat some food, and then you're going to complain about it and talk about it when you get back to your job or to your church.
I think we should have pay-per-view weddings. Everybody pay their $55 like you do to see the Tyson fight. Man, I'm aging myself by saying the Tyson fight.
But you know what I would do if I had opportunity to do it all over again? I'd do a YouTube wedding. I have the camera right there, and I'll tell everybody we'll stream it live or something.
Very cost effective.
Very cost effective, and everybody could pay. And everybody could PayPal their gifts. Greenback.
So back to the invitation. So I wonder what the actual ceremony was like. So did they do? I mean, I don't guess they did vows like we do now. So the invitation so what were you being invited to?
You know what I'm thinking about? I think I would have really had problem being the preacher during the wedding and Jesus
sitting there.
I'm like, how can you have to? That's like. Can you imagine you officiating a religious service, a religious ceremony, and the one who is the one is sitting there.
The one.
You know, how can you? I'll be like John the Baptist. Jesus, you know, you need to come and do this.
You know, we have a book that I used in seminary, Palestine in the Time of Jesus.
I just saw that 2 days ago.
It's back here somewhere. We need to pull that out and see what the actual ceremony was like. So we know, much like the ceremonies that we have now, there was eating and drinking.
Yeah. And so I think it was going back to Dr. Rensberger's class again. Weddings back then lasted like days and weeks.
I remember that.
They lasted a long time. It wasn't like a 3-hour wedding and you had to go to the reception. It was like all in one thing, you know. So
because you think about that time, it's such a great time to impart what you know and what you've learned into the couple that's being brought together. Because a lot of times weddings, there were more like a financial transaction or arrangement. So there wasn't like, I love her and I can't live without her. It was like, I need her dad's property. So I'm going to take the daughter and I'm going to learn to love her. And so
childbearing hips.
So just think about the wisdom that had to be imparted into both of them. I mean, going into a relationship with somebody you barely know and don't love.
You know, and you think about back then they called those arranged marriages. They worked.
Yeah.
You know, even though they talked about divorce, and Jesus even talked about because of the hardening of their hearts.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about divorce as much during that time. And I guess
right.
considering the family line order they was writing about, it probably didn't happen in that particular family. It might have been rampant, you know.
Yeah.
But if you could have as many wives as you wanted like they did back then, who needed divorce?
Yeah.
Just send them to another room and...
I just say okay to that. But when you think about Jesus being invited to the wedding, that's pretty much putting, and that's a lot of what the Christian thought is about this scripture. That's pretty much putting Jesus' stamp of approval on the marriage process. That he endorses marriage. He uses it as the analogy between him loving the church and it being like his bride. So contrary to what Brother Paul would have us to believe in some of his writing, that marriage is a good thing.
It is, and I agree with that. And I think what's interesting also, we, even as Americans in 2014, you know, I don't really like giving dates on here because 20, 30 years from now when they look back over it, they'll say that's what they thought back then. But
I want to see a posted date.
Yeah, but you think about even marriages here today, weddings in churches, they want ministers of the gospel to officiate it.
Yeah.
It's almost as subconsciously you're saying you want that Jesus connection to your wedding because in America you go to the justice of the peace, Navy admiral or captain or something like that can marry you. So, you know, we still, especially those of the Christian faith, want to have that Jesus invited part of the wedding. So.
I am grateful for Playbook and the opportunity to get to just discuss. And I wish this was a forum where we could do live questions and comments, but we do encourage you to leave your comments below on this and all videos and let us know what you think and what any ideas of things you'd like to see on the Playbook and on the Good News.
So until the next time,
good day and good night.